my clock, I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop. No popcorn, I pop pistols. Reaming my body, clothing no issue. Bitch, you look sick, you need a tissue. You drop a body, I just might bless you. I'm metrosexual.
Yo, what is going on, everyone? It's Wraith here, back with another video. Now, in today's video, I'm going to be going over the day-old question since the very beginning of Fortnite that a lot of you guys ask me all the time. And basically, it's how to stop choking in Fortnite. Now, I get this so much, and I've made videos on how to remain calm and so many videos on how to win endgame. But I understand that a lot of the time it doesn't matter because you can be very calm and you can still end up choking in a very high pressured scenario. So basically in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys 5 tips that will basically help you guys out and hopefully fix your problem of choking in the late game, end game, tournament scenario, or whatever it is. For those of you who don't know, I do stream every single day, so check the link out in the description. WraithAM on Twitch as well, and make sure you use creator code WraithFN in the item shop. And let's get into today's video. So the first tip I'm going to give today, and this is an extremely important one, that people do this for every single game, and it's basically like just kind of thinking about it, it's probably the smartest thing to do, is put yourself in the scenario that you choke more. So basically what I mean about this is, let's say you choke endgame scenarios. Well, that, like, let's say very crowded endgame, for example, a World Cup endgame. Well, then what you need to start doing is playing more customs, putting yourself in the custom, try and survive into the end game so you feel more comfortable in that scenario. If you've never played customs before, or you've never played really high-end tier arena games, basically, because if you're just playing normal arena, you're most likely not getting the best practice. But if you're playing customs, or you're playing whatever the case is, and you're playing where there's 40 people end game, well, then you're definitely going to feel a little more comfortable when you go into a World Cup game or a trios tournament or whatever the case is, and you're going to feel more comfortable because you've been in that scenario before. I know for me, when I started in the World Cup the first 4 weeks, I didn't really play scrims before that. Well, I did like back in season 5 or whatever, but then I stopped playing scrims because I was like, whatever, I'd rather improve mechanically. And then when the first couple World Cup weeks, I just did terrible endgame because I wasn't prepared for it, because I wasn't used to playing in such a stacked endgame. So then I know at around week 4, week 5, I started grinding some customs and started grinding more scrim type play. So then for the week 8, 9, and 10, I was way more prepared and I felt way more confident endgame because I actually felt like I know what I was doing, and I didn't choke as much on those late game edits or whatever because I felt more comfortable in that scenario. The same thing kind of goes for that 1v1 endgame. If it's you v another person, you end up choking a lot. Well, then again, just try and survive until there's one person as much as possible every single game, and then feel, once you do it, even if you die to that person the first couple times, you're going to feel more comfortable after you've been in that scenario. You're going to be like, okay, I got this. Even if it's a high pressured scenario, you're going to feel way more confident. And again, the same thing goes with tournaments. Just in general, you'll feel nervous in tournaments, well, then just try your best to play in more tournaments, or try your best to get in as many tournaments as possible, whether they're LAN, whether they're online, or whatever the case is. Just put yourself in the scenario more. Now, this next tip is a pretty important one, and it's basically remain calm. Now, I kind of talked about this at the start of the video. I've made tons of videos on how to remain calm, but like quickly I'll just go over a couple tips, and one is just to keep like a steady breathing pattern. So basically, don't just start going and like start choking, getting nervous or whatever, your hands start shaking. Just calm down, breathe. Remember to breathe. It's the biggest thing. I know a lot of you guys just stop and you just won't breathe for 2 minutes because the end game's so intense and you're so nervous and money's on the line or whatever the case is. Just breathe, take a second. When you're in your box, whatever, close your eyes for a second, deep breath in, deep breath out, and then you're gonna be good to go. Like take a relaxation pill, chill, relax, and breathe. Trust me, breathing is going to be the most important to help you remain calm endgame. Because again, if you're not calm, even if you've been in that scenario thousands of times, for some reason, if you get anxious and you're nervous because you actually have a chance at winning money or whatever the case is, and you don't remain calm, you're most likely going to screw up. So just remain calm, chill, breathe, and you'll be way better in the scenario. Now, this next tip you can do is basically fall back on your mechanics. Now, what I mean about that is if your mechanics are good enough and they're pretty good, like if they're godly or whatever the case is, or a pro level or whatever the case is, whether it's your editing, aiming, building, well then you can always fall back on that. Even if you're nervous, even if you are like, oh my god, I don't know if I'm going to win this, if you have unbelievable mechanics, again, whether it's aim, editing, no matter how nervous you are, you shouldn't miss your shots, you shouldn't miss your edits. If you have unbelievable aim, unbelievable editing, like I said, no matter how nervous you are, you shouldn't mess up. It should be so implanted in your brain, the muscle memory of hitting every single one of those shots, hitting every single one of those edits, where no matter how nervous you are, you shouldn't mess up. So basically what I mean about that and how it's kind of a tip is, if you don't feel like your mechanics are good enough, your confidence is gonna vary, and you're gonna feel like you're gonna miss your shots, which you probably end up will. But if you know you have unbelievable aim, unbelievable editing, then you're most likely not gonna miss that kind of scenario. So basically what you can do to help improve that is just, again, grind mechanics and get better at the game overall. Obviously, if you're not a top tier player, yeah, you're probably not going to win money because you're not a top tier player. Don't just expect to listen to tips and listen to not how to choke. But if, like, okay, how would I phrase this? Let me restart this. If you think that just because you can listen to tips or whatever not to choke, but you're not good enough player overall, no matter what I say, unfortunately, you're just not going to be there. Like, there's nothing about it. I can't go over the fact. I'm going to be honest. But if you improve and you become the best player, well then yeah, obviously you're not going to choke because your aim's still naturally going to be there, your edits are still naturally going to be there, and you're not going to mess up. Now this next tip kind of goes back to the comfortability, and basically another way you can improve to feel more comfortable besides just playing is watching pro players in the end games, or watching old World Cup scenarios, or whatever the case is. Just watch and spectate and realize what happens that end game. Realize that you actually do have more time than you think. Yeah, sure, you might have to make an edit in a split second, but up to that edit you have 5 or 6 seconds where you're just tunneling or whatever, you're just chilling. So basically, if you watch World Cup games or pro player gameplay, you might feel way more confident. You might most likely will not choke because you're like, oh, well, basically, I watch this all the time. It's not as bad as I think it is. Just because there's a lot of people doesn't mean it's as hard as I think it is. And basically, when you watch it, like I said, it's kind of the same thing as when you play it more. When you put yourself in the scenario more, you're going to feel more confident. When you watch the game and you watch in that scenario, you're going to feel more confident being in the scenario by yourself. Trust me, it's kind of a weird theory, but trust me, it actually works. And now this last tip is kind of a 2-for-1 tip, but basically the first part is remember it's just a game. Even if you're unbelievable and you're top 25 in West or East, just think to yourself, even if I make money, it's only what, $200? Now sure, that might be unreal. But just think about it. Even like this is saying that if you're top tier player, it's just a game. You probably that $200 isn't going to mean that much in the long run. Obviously, if you're grinding and you're almost about to make the World Cup for the next year or whatever, that's a little bit different. But if you're just a good player, or even if you're an average player, you got to keep in mind that it's just a game. It's a Fortnite game. There's going to be more tournaments. You're not winning $3 million like Booga. If you are, well then respect, and you shouldn't be watching this video. You should be grinding right now. But basically, if you're just an average player, or even if you're top 50 or whatever the case is, remember that it's just a game. Millions of dollars are on the line. Sure, a couple hundred might be on the line, but millions of dollars are on the line. You don't need to be nervous. It's just a game. There's going to be more tournaments. There's going to be more games. You're probably 14 years old to 25 years old. There's still plenty of years for other games. Whatever the case is, don't think about it. And then the last tip I'm going to say is be confident. Now, obviously, I've made tons of videos on how to be confident. I'm not going to go through it this much. Basically, how to be confident is you just got to be a good player. If you're a good player, you're going to know you're a good player, and you're going to feel more confident. For me, for example, I know I'm a pretty good player, but there's times where I still know that my aim's not top tier, my editing's not top tier, and my gameplay isn't top tier. That's why I still struggle sometimes, is because my confidence wavers, because deep down I know that I'm not at the top level. But basically what you can do is once you get to that top level, your confidence goes back up. So once you get to that top level, you're going to have confidence, and that's basically all I can say to get confidence is keep grinding, keep improving, and you will feel way more confident. So that's basically it for today's video. If this helped you, make sure you slap a like button, make sure you comment what you want to see for a future video, and have a good one, everyone. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!
Good morning. How can I help you?
I left a pair of glasses and a bag outside my door last night to be cleaned and polished, but they haven't been returned yet.
You must be Mr. Malone. One moment, please.
Mr. Malone, you're